Welcome to the Leftover Rewatch Season 3, Episode 1, The Book of Kevin. How's it going, everybody?
Excellent.
Great.
Good. How are y'all?
Hanging in there. Hanging in there. Hanging in there.
Yeah.
So, just off the top, did we like this episode?
A lot.
Immensely. Yeah, immensely.
Yeah.
Expectations could not have been higher, though. But yeah.
Well, I don't
True.
know if mine were lower. I mean, seriously, going into this season, I go, okay, again, how are they going to top what they did in Season 2? And not saying they didn't or that they did, but I would like to have been the fly on the wall when they were discussing, okay, because they didn't know if they were going to be picked up. I wonder if they had a game plan going into Season 3, if they did get picked up.
I think they knew they were done, right, Ethan? That's my assumption. They knew they were done.
No, I'm saying in Season 2, the end of Season 2, they didn't know if they were gonna go or not.
Right. End of Season 2, we were on the same plate. We thought that if it wouldn't continue, they were done there, right?
Right.
Yeah, and they made it like that. They made it like if they didn't get any more, it'd be done there.
But definitely, by the time they started working on Season 3, I think they knew they had 10 episodes left to tell their story.
Yeah,
right?
I'm sure that they knew for sure it was going to be over in Season 3. But I'd like to have been okay. This is what we need to come up with something that's interesting that tops or can compete with Season 2. Just I'm sure there was a lot of yelling going back and forth and.
When it came to the studio, they were like, "Well, you guys don't get any numbers, but we love working with you." And he was like, "Yeah, we just want one to finish it out." And they're like, "We'll give you one, but we'll give you 8 episodes." And they said, "Okay, we'll take it." So,
which is I'm glad they did.
Yeah,
but I would love to be in the thought process when this was going on.
Well, the first thing that jumped out at me when I was looking at credits, because that's what I learned from Ethan. You look at credits. And the second line that came up was written by Damon Lindelof and Patrick Somerville, right? Mm-hmm. I believe that's his name. And the first thing that came to mind, linking to what you're saying, Jack, is that probably when they knew they had 8 episodes left, not only did they want to tell the best story possible, but I'm sure Lindelof was trying to elevate everybody on his team. Like everyone who worked on this, for 2 seasons, like this was their chance to strut their stuff, right?
Right.
and a lot of people did, and the next big thing a lot of them did was Watchmen,
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, because you want to end on a high note because it's all about your resume too. Yeah, if it flops, then people go, "Oh, that's right, you had that final season of Leftovers that was so bad."
But I mean, it's like the way I look at it in terms of like you're wondering like how would they be able to like deliver something on par with Season 2? I mean, there's so much talent. To make a sports analogy, there's so much talent on that team that like I wasn't concerned.
But sometimes having a lot of talent doesn't come through.
Well, if you're Lindelof, you can make it work.
Just saying.
But
Okay,
everybody,
Hackenheimer.
I was waiting so long for this, and then I posted that trailer. I don't know if anyone watched it, the Season 3 trailer. I remember when that thing dropped with the SOS by ABBA.
Mm-hmm.
It's someone said on the Jay and Jack page it's the GOAT TV trailer, and it is. I was waiting so long for this, and then just that massive trailer with all those things, because it's not the show that you're not expecting much from. It's the show you're expecting everything from.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I think they delivered.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say right now if I think they topped Season 2 or not, but they definitely delivered.
But you can see from the outset, and I guess we'll get into recap right after this, is it really felt like this episode was written for people who stuck around, in the sense that they're giving like a lot of, not just in terms of like, I hate the term like, what is it, like fan recognition or fan service?
Fan service.
But it's like, it's even written in such a way that allows you to like appreciate all the nuance,
Sure.
all the subtleties.
And it's real subtle, and it's the show is the most rewarding on rewatch, and Season 3 doesn't shy away from that. There is so much you can read throughout the season because how they wrote this season was they started with the very last scene and worked their way back.
Right.
And we see a bunch of that once you see the whole thing.
Right. But speaking of goats, you mentioned goats earlier. We start with a family, and we don't know what year it is, but we know it's not present day. At least, well, I don't think it is. And then they bring a goat to this guy, right? They give him a goat. And the guy didn't cut the goat's neck. Well, we didn't see it anyway. But we find out it's January 21st, 1844. You guys
Good
know
year.
What you're doing on that date? In your previous life, you don't remember?
Well, I was 25, and
it was a very good year.
It was a very good
small town
year.
boys with independent means.
The family spends the night on the roof, dressed all dressed in white. So that's a theme we've seen before. So why are they on top of the on top of the roof there?
Well, this is historically accurate. I mean, during the obviously, so this whole introductory scene is basically showing what it was like to be a Millerite, right?
Right.
And they were literally told on the night of whatever the proper religious term would be, Caleb.
Rapture,
exactly.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if they use rapture Millerite, but it's probably what it is. That they should basically all bedeck themselves in white and climb up to the roof, or if it was too dangerous, look out the window and expect Jesus to come.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Roasted. I thought the family was giving away their property. I didn't think the goat was an offering.
Well, they're giving it
Ooh,
away
good
because
point.
they're giving it away because they don't think they're going to be here tomorrow.
Right.
Right.
But can we just say this? Ladders have come a long way as far as safety. I don't know if I would have gone up that ladder.
By the way, Jack, when you watched this the first time, were you looking closely for the gutters?
I was.
Yes, of course you were.
That was before they were. That was before they were invented. I don't know how the kid came along, but anyway.
But this is one of those expectation deals, though, right? So they had that first scene in season 2, right? That's all weird and not from Leftover season 1 at all.
Yeah.
And they're like, how are we going to do that, but different as it relates to the season?
Because we have no song, we have no theme, we have no song in the beginning. No, it's like you said, it starts like season 2.
And I have to say, they like this whole opening montage is perhaps the best. Like, how long does it take? 3-4 minutes?
Oh, at least, yeah.
3-4 minutes overview of what it's like for somebody to go through a cult.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's like a cult. Well, it is a cult.
It was a cult.
Yeah, and they're just like, please take me, please, because it's better. It's going to be better there than it is here.
And I mean, I don't think the main characters utter a single word, right? The main character is a woman, right?
Right.
You hear some talking in the background, but it's mostly just almost like narration. But the facial expressions, like you can see like how she gets shunned by her family, or she shuns her family, or vice versa.
Well, I call her the original Lori.
I was about to say the OG Lori. Leaving her family for her beliefs and everything.
Yeah, exactly.
And I mean, this is where the show is so incredibly well researched, and it's Reza Aslan, right, Ethan?
He's one of those spiritual advisors.
Yeah, where he basically like probably led them, like just explained all this stuff from his historical research, and then of course Lindelof just puts it on film to perfection.
Was this the time? Was it the first time where the townspeople are laughing at him, even the guy they gave the goat to? Or was it the second time they climbed up there?
I just remember, I think the second time when the husband left is when I was like, oh,
Because there's a scene where they look over, they see another family up there. Because the guy that's leading the prayers or whatever he's doing, saying on this date. Because the next one was April 16th, 1944, and the final one, because the dad goes, "We're out of here. This is ridiculous. You're just," and the wife, Lori, the original Lori, says, "No, I'm going to stay." And she climbs up there on August 18th, 1944, and she's up there alone. and it's pouring down rain. And you think, okay, because when the way they come back, is she gone?
Mm-hmm.
And she's not.
Yeah.
She has to do the walk of shame.
But you can. What's brilliant
the
about
religious
this?
walk of fame.
Yeah,
Ooh,
but
I'm
here's
writing
the
that
thing.
down.
Here's the thing, and I thought this is where they did it fantastically, and we have more experience with this now in 2021 than we did when this originally came out, because we're dealing with this issue much more in our society. They had her act that indignance, right? It was like the more the people were shunning her, the more indignant she became, and the more like, it's the whole cognitive dissonance thing, in the sense that the more data that was given to her to disprove that, her theory, the more she believed in it.
Right.
And then, of course, that perfect blend of where you see them in that chapel of the Millerite church sleeping, and then they just fade in, and they do it based on the shoes, right?
Right.
How they then transition to what is, current day in Jordan, Texas.
Well, even towards the end, her husband looks at her like, I don't even know who you are.
Well, it's exactly right.
Yeah,
right.
He says, you're bringing me down.
Yeah.
I mean, the townspeople, because they're probably laughing at him too.
Yeah.
But he finally did this is a bunch of BS. I got to get out of here. I got to survive.
And we've talked many times about how Leftovers kind of pre-configures a lot of stuff that we deal with in the last 18 months in terms of COVID. But I mean, this opening scene was the one that really, like, without knowing it, captured the whole like cycle of the QAnon movement in terms of people losing their family members and the family members just becoming more indignant.
I had a question for Caleb about this scene, not because it's religion or anything, but
Is anybody's screen glitching? First of all, sorry.
Mine isn't. Is yours?
We're fine.
It's doing like that? Nobody's?
No.
Okay, hold on just a second. I'm going to have to move my thing. It may be my plug. Hold on. How do I do that? How do I do that screen where it's like, hold on a second, I'm not here. What do you do? Green?
Oh, turn off your stop cam. Not you.
Cam.
Where'd Eckhart go?
Okay, there we go. Let me just remove this. So I don't want it glitching. I mean, it could be the power. We are, having effects from the hurricane or whatever. But let me. Okay, I was using this new stand. There we go. To make it. There we go. Okay, Ethan, what's your question for me?
The question was, and this gives a little bit away of the season. It's a mild spoiler, but I'm not going to get too deep into it. We are seeing someone specific in the cast, and kind of the whole cast. They're showing us what they're going to show us before they show it to us.
Okay.
In 4 minutes, we see what happens to this person who has this belief, and for this whole season, we are set up for the same thing, like a flood, right. Kind of, right? Is there any kind of literary? You're the literary film school guy. Like how in like if my mother's watching, she's horrified by my remedial language. They tell you to, when you're writing a paper, they tell you to write what you're going to write about, write about it, and then tell people what you wrote about. Right?
Okay.
Like paper, kind of. Is
Sure.
there like a film school like thing that they're doing here with the season of the show that you can see?
Well, I mean, it could just typically be foreshadowing, as in, is that what we're referring to? The end of this episode?
The end of, I would say the end of this episode, towards the end of maybe Kevin Sr. at the end of his arc in this season.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I'm not sure about like a specific term. I mean, I would just say foreshadowing. I'm actually still on the fence about if I think that they should have included that final scene in this episode or not. I was actually, interested to hear y'all's take on that, obviously at the end. But, yeah. So, yeah, I don't know a specific term.
Okay.
Sorry.
I just thought about it because they showed us what's going to happen.
But yeah, right. So, you're saying show, don't tell. That is that what you're?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, for the Nora scene at the end?
No, not
No,
for
we're
any-
talking about he's talking about the link between the Millerite scene and the dad who's so obsessed with that date. Right?
with the date of the coming of the flood.
Yeah.
With Kevin's dad.
Yeah.
Mm,
Or do you not remember where he ends up? And I should ask you again. And
yeah, we'll need to circle back. It's been a while since I've seen his episode, but I do want to talk about that scene for just a minute and just say that obviously these people are disappointed that the rapture didn't happen, and they're trying to figure out why it doesn't happen over and over. And it goes back to the age old, tale as old as time top thing of people focusing too much on the afterlife, when instead the point, and I think the show makes this very well, is that you should enjoy the time with your loved ones.
Yeah.
And I feel like this relates later when we see the dove messages, and it's almost as if after the departure, people resorted to like those primal beliefs, as we saw here in the beginning scene, and the old way of doing things in order to feel comfortable and make reason out of madness, but you can't do that, and it doesn't work. And I just thought it was beautiful how the imagery went from her laying down and then to the GR. I thought that was just the whole
perfect, I thought.
Yeah. So, but I do, like Eckhart said, this is very reminiscent to today, and people still wanting to go to heaven and rapture happen and all that. So
Well, I think everyone always thinks there's something. What is always the grass is greener. I think people always think there's something better than what they have now.
Yeah, but I think one of the reasons they picked Millerite, there are many reasons they picked it, but I think they were really fascinated with it because it was, there's at different points in time, they're different millennial religious cults, but this one's probably the most recent and pervasive one in American history. That it shows that like when you are able to focus like the fervor onto a certain date, right, you can get really crazy stuff happening, right? So it's such a great blueprint for what this whole season's about.
Right.
In terms of, without getting too far ahead, one of the first things that we see in the episode is a handbill that says 14 days to come or something like that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and back then, or it showed the progression with the rest of the town. They think she's crazy. The rest of the town's like, you're insane. You know what I mean? Like, you keep doing this over and over. Obviously nothing's happened. Just live your life.
Right.
And so like, that's kind of what's going on in the leftovers world. That's what's going on in our world to an extent. So
do you think she's just a pure believer, or she just painted herself in a corner and she's gone so far that either she, it works or she just keeps going through the same, cycle of being shunned by her family and,
that's
and by the townspeople.
That's why the comment I made about like the expression on her face, that indignation, right?
Right.
There is like a certain like psychological profile where like you like the more evidence you're given, you get back to the corner, you just back yourself to the corner more and more.
Yeah.
It's kind of like the sunk cost fallacy. I had to write that down. Basically you've put too much money into something and then it's not worth as much as what you thought, and so you ended up keeping it. Or in the case of anti-vaxxers that we're dealing with now, they can't go back because they'll realize because if they take back what their belief is, then it means they've harmed their loved ones, their family and friends, by being anti-vax. So they dig their heels deeper, which is what we see with this woman.
Yeah.
Also, with the family, it's almost like the episode itself is, in the beginning, everyone's so happy, and this woman is happy. Here's our goat. Here's everyone's happy. The husband's happy. The little boy he's happy, and as time goes on, she's miserable, and the dad doesn't seem happy. It's all like because then as we see in the leftovers, the first 10 minutes of Kevin's happy, Nora's happy, everybody, Tommy's happy, everyone's It's just peaches and cream.
Are they?
Yeah. And then we find out they're still the same people underneath that are just not happy people.
It's around 38. It's around 38 minutes. We figure out that everything's really, really crappy.
Right. But that's why they did a good job with this too. The opening scene is basically like, I think Eckhart, you said it. It's just described the episode. It's just we're happy. We're not as happy. Okay, we're miserable. I want to put a plastic bag over my face.
We could literally.
We don't have those yet.
You could literally replace the main character in that opening scene with Matt and his family with his family.
Right, exactly.
in that case. I mean, in terms of where this is going.
Yeah.
Oh, we're gonna get there.
Anyway,
we didn't talk about the song in the "I Wish We'd All Been Ready." Was that not perfect?
Well, it's like perfect for this, but it's like I thought about it. Why don't I have this on any of my leftovers playlist? And there's an obvious answer, and
you don't like it,
except for this particular words and music to film. I mean, the song is garbage, basically.
I help write.
Well,
you help write garbage. Sorry,
I got residuals from it, so it's all that matters.
That's fine.
So anyway, as we've mentioned a couple of times, we pan to the GR, and it's Evie and Meg talking. And Meg tells Evie, you can talk, and then maybe you should be in charge because you seem to know what's going on. And she goes, and then Evie writes, what are we waiting for?
Right.
Now, and then we hear this plane coming or drone coming and explode. Did Meg know that was going to happen? Because they're still at the Welcome Center. She seemed to know something was going to happen.
I think she doesn't care, but I think she expects after this big thing that she did for some retaliation.
Yeah, I think she expected ATFAC to come in and do what they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because even the upper GR people were not on her side and could have even issued a statement and was like, we don't have anything to do with it.
Well, I like how she described the Siegfried and Roy, the tiger thing.
That was
she's, how they sit there but eventually the tiger will bite your face off, which is what happened.
But so what was the question to you guys? What was the whole purpose of that little monologue about that?
Just saying that that the tiger was going to bite their face off any second because, well, I think that's what she was telling Meg. Yeah.
So you keep poking the bear, or you keep, putting yourself in these risky situations and hurting people like the GR are doing. Eventually, they're gonna.
Because Meg didn't. I don't think Meg wanted to live. I think she was just done. She wanted to wreak as much havoc as possible, and then.
Again, like the only conclusion I come to with Meg is just she's a chaos muppet that might have not been written very well. And then on top of that, you layer the Siegfried and Roy voice on top of it.
Yeah.
So that's why Meg is the hardest to dissect for me because there's just no rhyme or reason.
But on the other hand, Evie was expecting some kind of plan and something to come next.
Right.
Well, that's what she was told.
Yeah.
There probably was a plan to come next, and Evie was like, "Okay, what are we doing here?
Right.
I gave up everything to follow you," and it's almost like that. It's almost going back to the lady that was, she gave up everything to follow someone. Mm-hmm. Well, so did Evie. Evie gave up her family, even though she wasn't completely happy. She still gave it up, and she ends up giving up her life because she followed Meg and she followed the wrong person.
Well, that's a great point.
Honestly, she faked it once. She could be doing it again.
All right, John. But Ethan, credit to you for sharing that screen cap of that frame of the reflection of the missile or whatever it is in her glasses. As the last scene of her alive. Or is it?
Yeah, but I just anyway, boom.
That's a great connection, Jack, about how the lady from the beginning is related or very similar to Evie. Because I was so focused on how she was similar to Lori for joining the cult and how she was similar to Matt for his current things, and I didn't think about Evie. So this one woman in the beginning is so important to all of our characters. It's great.
It just wasn't a throwaway scene. Yeah, I think if you're watching if you say you just picked up season 3 and you go, oh, I've heard about the Leftovers, and you're watching this, you're not gonna have any clue what's going on.
They'll be like, "Oh my God, they killed off Liv Tyler in the first 5 minutes."
And I do, I was fully entrenched in the podcast culture by the end of second season, right? By the beginning of this season, because we had been through Westworld, and I had listened to J. Jack and Mike, and I got started on that, and so I was listening to like 4 or 5 different podcasts for season 3, because all these podcasts that didn't do season 1 and 2 saw the reviews for season 2 and heard everyone talk about it and watched it. And there's so many more season 3 podcasts for The Leftovers.
But it's funny, they jumped on the bandwagon, but there really wasn't that much big a bandwagon as far as it wasn't like Breaking Bad or Lost, a show that had decent ratings. But...
question for Ethan, since I'm always the really intricate stuff I throw his way.
Great.
Before the missile was fired, there was just a bunch of like personnel around the welcome center that then took off. What do we know what they were doing? Were they just surveillance, or was there something else?
I mean, I guess when there's some kind of hostage situation, there's a bunch of people hanging out.
So we have to think about it just like as like a surveillance force, like during Waco, right?
Wasn't there someone there with a laser?
That's how I expected
to guide the missile in.
I guess you could.
Yeah, but I think everyone was given the, get out of here.
Right.
The bomb's coming, and they sent in that camera, right? They sent in the little...
There's that sound. That's how Evie knows to go out, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they probably needed to confirm that there were enough GR in there to justify whatever that FBI agent was in season 1, to authorize the strike, right?
Right.
So I know it left a crater, but could she have not just started running a little bit? Or was she just put my hands up and let it happen?
I think she's just in shock.
Well, she's shocked, but yeah, I don't think she was going to get away.
No.
We could see. I mean, I don't know how they instructed her to act that scene, but where they're just showing her face looking up at the sky, and there's just a complete resolution there, right?
I don't think she wanted to die. Whereas Meg was, she was ready to check out.
Yeah.
But Evie, like I said, we talked about it. Anyway,
it was almost like I've been bamboozled.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh no, and that was the last.
I guess my dad wasn't so bad after all.
Yeah. Well, I don't know about that, but her mom, she should have cared about a lot.
Yeah. She was like, "Oh, now I understand."
Yes.
Yeah.
But at this point in time, we can all agree that whatever Meg's plan was didn't really extend beyond letting her friends into Jordan.
No.
And maybe getting herself blown up.
Right. Yeah, she definitely, her plan was to be eliminated.
And the fact that she just kind of kept talking about it was the tell that, it was just all hype and no substance.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Anyway. 3 years later, Kevin is the cop of Jordan. And then who else is a cop? Tommy. Yes, because he's yelling at the people that have the Gary Busey inflatable because it's too big.
But before they get there, they're giving us this new season 3 tour of Jordan as opposed to our season 2 tour of Jordan, right?
Right, yeah.
We're letting people in. They don't need wristbands. All the pilgrims can come and do what they want.
Just come on in.
And even before that, we see Kevin is basically at the site of the blown up welcome center.
Because they just have a fence around it.
The fence around there, a crater, and some some we will never forget you type memorabilia. So it kind of reminded me a bit of World Trade Center.
Could they have just filled it up, or but they were making money off it, so they didn't care?
Why does it always take this angle?
I don't think they're making money off the crater.
Then fill it up. Why not just get some bulldozers and?
It's a memorial for those that perished.
Yeah, I think it's Jack. I think they left it on purpose there to give the sense to really signal how probably the town as a whole is still struggling with it 3 years later.
Then why just a chain link fence? Like I said, it's put up something nice. Put up
Like
a
I'm
memorial.
saying, I mean, that's kind of what they did.
Or is it sending a message saying, "Yeah, don't do this anymore"?
Maybe, but I don't remember what it was like. What the area was around the World Trade Center after those towers fell, but it was definitely fenced off before they started constructing stuff, and there was like tons of stuff that people left there.
I get it, but the World Trade Center is a huge. This is just the Welcome Center.
Yeah, but for Jordan, it's like this was like one of the main things. You saw what their community, you saw what their like Quickie Mart looks like.
Yeah, that's true. After the earthquake.
That is interesting because, Kevin later is explaining, what the crater is or whatever, and that there was a gas leak, and that's what happened to everybody. All the GR members lit up their cigarettes at once or whatever. And so I think, Jack, they're leaving it there to send a message. Because if it was just a gas leak, I mean, people know what it was. I like we're sending you a message. Don't do this again. That's why they've not covered it up. Because it would make sense. It was an explosion. We're going to cover it up. I mean, why not do that?
Yeah. All right. Okay.
I don't know about the fence thing, but
it just to me the fence was like you could climb over the fence. It was like, okay, yeah, I guess it would keep someone from walking. If they were texting from walking and falling in the hole.
It's dangerous.
Anyway, let's see. We got the Gary Busey thing, which I thought was funny. And then Kevin finds a flyer saying 14 days to go.
Yep.
About the Gary Busey thing, that was actually given to Anthony Bourdain. He got first right of refusal on that. He didn't want his likeness blown up in the TV show. So Gary Busey was next on that list.
Who was the other guy?
Anthony Bourdain, the chef.
Oh, okay.
Recently passed away.
Yeah. Okay. I knew the name. I wasn't clicking.
No.
He could have been remembered forever as the guy
in the opening.
But we wouldn't have gotten the Busey Bros.
Yeah.
So
because he was one of Bourdain was one of the guys that we saw had departed, right?
Yeah.
Along with Gary Busey.
Yeah.
They had this thing like a lot of celebrity chefs departed in the first season. Emerald, Mario Batali, the mayor of Flavortown. Departed.
And then Kevin is going towards, and he sees Matt is giving a sermon. He's got a packed house.
That's fantastic.
Things are going great for Kevin.
Yeah.
I'm not Kevin, Matt. And then October 14th is a couple of weeks from now. Find out.
There were so many notes I wanted to take with what Kevin was hearing outside, like what Matt was saying. I could get down to.
There's no way I could do it.
There was so many things that you connect to what's going on with Kevin, with like coming down to the jungle for 7 years, going crazy, But I was like, it was a lot.
And I thought the effect of them, with the speakers outside of the building and seeing all those people who couldn't get into the church.
Right.
The effect of those speakers really gave Matt's sermon like the feeling of like something from a bygone era, like something more like 1950s, 1940s, 1930s, right?
Right.
So that gave it like even a more chilling effect for me.
Right. Well, I mean, it's very similar to going back to the opening of the episode. But I mean, I just thought it was a funny scene because I put in my notes, I said, Matt is literally picking and choosing verses out of the Bible to go along with his 7-year theory that he's going with now. And that's dangerous.
But isn't that what all preachers do? Like you just kind of, you start with like one theme and you just start picking things left and right, like to back it up.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, isn't that what all marketers do?
Well, I like that he talks about his wife.
Oh.
He says that's my wife Mary, and their son Noah.
Well, in the first episode of the second season, he wasn't allowed to talk about what happened to his wife at all.
Right.
And now it seems like she has to be out there for 3 shows a day.
And she's
exactly. He's using
I mean,
Yeah.
You know,
Well, they're probably
Hold up, Noah.
I'm
Yeah.
sure. I'm
Yeah.
sure they're making money now, right? It's a packed house.
Yeah, but that's probably the least of like.
listen
But
for all their
Mary's like trapped.
for all their problems. I don't think like they're doing the money grubbing.
Yeah, I mean, this is not like Matt Olstein out there with like,
Yeah.
six luxury cars in his garage, right? And car
Private jet.
elevator.
See, and then Kevin goes and he sees Michael, and Michael puts down the computer real quick. Are you watching porn?
And he's like, "What?
No, not me. Not
How
me.
dare you? How dare you, sir?"
Yeah, because that's what Kevin explains when someone's watching porn, they slam the computer down. And then Kevin goes, "Okay, what about this note?" He goes, "What?" He goes, and Matt's like, "Oh, it has your address on it."
By the way, just from the whole scene, from him, talking to the Busey bros to like the way that he's handling Matt and like making the comment about porn, I mean, you can already see like the tone of the show is already like much more comedic.
Right.
Yep.
And in a way that like the only way that you understand that joke about the laptop being funny is if you know who Michael is from season 2, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And you know about Matt being prone to like passing out flyers from season 1. It's
Right.
like that's your thing, right?
Did I skip over the part where him and Tommy talk about coming over at 6:00, not 5:30?
Yeah.
5:30 works better for me. 6 works better for me because he already knows about the party.
And of course, they're the parallels to the Garvey's at their best with the chief coming over, right, for his surprise party.
Exactly.
I thought it was interesting that Kevin was like, "No, I heard what you said in there, Matt," and he was like, "I heard what you said." And you said nothing's going to happen on the 14th unless everything's happening on the 14th. And I was like, that's perfect.
He also tells Matt, hey, just tone it down.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then as he leaves, Matt asks Michael if he saw it. And Michael goes, doesn't say anything, just shakes his head no. Then we see Kevin is talking to the rest of the police officers. There's no what's the guy's? I forgot the guy's name. The guy I always fought with.
Herb.
No, it's a Herb.
Lou. There's no Lou.
There's got to be a Lou there somewhere, right?
No, because like now he's basically Garvey Sr. at this point.
Yeah, but there's always a Lou.
And you could see the way that he's talking to these guys, like, and you contrast this to the way that he was giving orders to his team. When they had to deal with the GR.
Right.
Like, there's like. I mean, he's really like made advances in terms of his like leadership style and charisma, in terms of just the way that all these people respect him.
Right. He got that job pretty fast.
Yeah. Well, he had to take a bullet for it.
I mean, John gave him the recommendation.
He should have been dead 3 times at least. And then Agent Nora Durst from the DSD comes in and gives her a little speech, little pep talk, and says, blah, blah, blah. But Kevin and Nora seem pretty happy, don't they?
Mm-hmm.
I love you.
They seem really, really happy. They seem so happy.
Yeah, so happy. And then we have a bizarre scene comes in. Dog killer Dean shows up.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes... And
big question for you guys. A guy is here from Mapleton to see you. Is it a tinfoil or a Kenneth?
What?
Please explain.
Yeah.
Anyone?
I don't.
I know what tinfoil means.
I know tinfoil.
I don't know what Kenneth is.
Kenneth.
Oh no.
Is it the REM song reference?
That's what I was thinking.
Frequency Kenneth.
And I might have gotten that from a podcast years ago.
Right.
Where they brought that in. What's the frequency, Kenneth? Because of that thing that happened with Dan Rather. But that's the only thing I can think of. So
I don't know.
Got nothing?
I got nothing. Got nothing for you. You should probably ask me that for the show, and I could have done some research. I
don't know why you're upset.
So the Dean has this little igloo cooler. He pulls it out. He puts some gloves on, and he pulls out this plastic bag with a peanut butter sandwich, not peanut butter and jelly, a peanut butter sandwich. And he says, "What did he say? It's from a senator in Wyoming, right?
Yeah.
Yeah." And it's canine DNA. Dogs have taken on human form. And I give Kevin credit. He didn't really go, all right, get the F out of here. My life is good now. What are you doing?
The music did it for us though too. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it stops all of a sudden, right?
It cut off.
Yeah.
Right when he said paw, maybe.
Yeah. Well, he says he goes. They got their hand on the button. He goes, well, don't you mean paw?
That's like, by the way, like this scene. Okay, right up until that point, like I always wonder now how much of the dialogue they actually let someone like Justin Theroux know about, because like this is one of those things where it's like it'd be amazing, because I mean most of that dialogue is Dean talking, right?
Right.
So they'd be like, all right, you're gonna shoot a scene with Dean and you don't know what he's there for, right? And to make it authentic, we're not gonna tell you the actor what he's there for.
Right. Yeah.
To
Well,
really
Dean almost,
like, because Kevin of course is wondering like this, why is he here? What is he gonna talk about Patty, right?
right. That's what I thought. I thought he had Patty's head in the igloo.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I didn't know. And then, but Dean reminded me of season 1, season 2 Kevin, where he's talking, but he's not making sense.
Well, yeah, and he was actually written in this episode as a barometer for where Kevin is now, as opposed to where they both were in season 1.
Right.
Yeah. So Dean's gone moreover.
Right.
Kevin seems right now like a normal person, even though we keep getting flashbacks.
Right. But he goes, Dean, this is not real.
Right.
It's not real. He goes, where are you staying? Da 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 da. Then Dean blows a dog whistle. Or did he? We don't know because we can't hear it. We don't know.
But it's what he did.
And to me, this is like classic Lindelof humor.
It's the one John Locke blew on the Maid on the Island.
But it's also like a little bit of that thing where he's talking back to the Leftovers fans who were talking about the dogs in season 1 a lot, right?
Right. He's
building on that, and they throw some of that Fight Club stuff in there too, with Dean being at this dinner, infiltrating, which is weird in itself.
So then we go to another strange scene because we see a guy putting his handprint, a blue handprint on, and I go, oh, it's Isaac. He's back. No, it's John. I'm like, what what's going on here? Because I did anyone know what was going when you're first watching it? You're like, is anyone thinking, all right?
I didn't recognize him at first, to be honest. I thought it might be a new character.
How does John have psychic powers? What is going on here? And then the guy's like going, he goes, I don't believe in this stuff, and da da da. I'm just over here. Goes my, somebody, maybe his wife. I can't remember who it was. And then John goes, Pat Benatar. Well, how did you know about that? I'm like, and my first question was, how did John know about that?
Yeah.
Kevin comes in, and Laurie's telling John we find out what Laurie's telling John what to say. And basically the guy just wants to know, he wants to ask his dad, why did you do it on my birthday? Now, assuming the dad committed suicide?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that would be a rough thing to have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then
it kind of parallels to something that happens a little later, shortly after Tommy's birthday, but I don't think it was actually on the day of, but I thought that was interesting. The Kevin weird moment in the bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
Not that he was going to go through with it, but just,
I didn't think about that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But it was the morning. It was the next morning, so it wasn't on Tommy's birthday. But it makes me wonder.
Still close enough.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin knew that what was going on with this guy, right? He was in the room,
right? Yeah. So he may have purposely waited.
Didn't even put 2 and 2 together there. Nice job. Give yourself 10 points.
Oh, now we got to give ourselves the points.
Let's see. Laurie's telling John what to say. He tells Lori would, and then Kevin's telling you gotta see this guy.
Right.
This guy Dean, he's an old friend of mine. We used to kill some dogs together. But I think he's going crazy. And she goes, "You never tell anybody in that state that they're going crazy, Kevin." So Lori hasn't changed at all. Am I right?
Well, yeah, but she has the line of the episode though. He goes, "I'm better," and she goes, "Of course you are." That's the line of the episode.
With a like when, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say when she flips it on him about that comment, and she's like, "Yeah, and the next thing you did was drink poison." She was admitting to her mistake of telling him he was crazy or going through an episode. So I loved how she turned that back around and was like, "Yeah, Lori actually has a point this episode."
This is my season for Lori. There's going to be some defensive Lori this season. Y'all should be.
Oh yeah,
I would say there's already there's a huge tonal shift for Lori from everything else we've seen in the series so far.
Yep.
In terms of it's almost like in that back and forth, you can see a sense of humor that was never exhibited at any point in time in any point in time in the show.
She's dating John now. John's a funny guy.
Of course.
And that's one of those that's one of those TV things you're just like, okay, they're together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's really just one of those TV things you have to accept if you're gonna get on with the show, I think. Yeah. And there's a bit of that in this season for sure.
Yeah, I think it happens with a lot of characters.
Yeah. Well, again, they're still trying to portray everybody's happy.
But just the fact that we're going to skip 3 years, and the way we're going to have all our characters together is we're going to have John and Lori be a couple. We're going to have them married.
But there was something
lazy, are you saying lazy writing?
I'm not saying lazy writing.
There was, it's how do we keep everyone in Jordan writing?
That's how do we keep,
But what I liked about that back and forth between Lori and
Kevo, as they say,
is where he describes we used to shoot dogs together, and she makes some sort of snide comment, and he just shoots back, "Well, you were in the GR." And it's kind of like what I took out of that conversation is they're showing that here are two people who've been through so much, okay, and they still have some level of affection and maybe even respect for each other, that it's almost reached some sort of an equilibrium or plateau where it kind of makes sense that given that they haven't drifted so far apart and they haven't killed each other yet, then they're kind of just meant to get along.
Right. Well, I find it funny that John comes up and shreds the money, and Kevin's like, "Well, how much is there?"
Yeah,
$80. Now, they're obviously doing it to make people feel better, right? Mm-hmm. Now, why not take the money and donate it to some charity? Maybe buy some to charity filling up that hole, or
to use the money to help with what Lori was trying to do in season 2 to help people who are trying to exit a cult.
Right. I don't understand why you shred the money. I can see that we're not going to take this money and keep it for ourselves because we're not criminals.
They're signaling that they don't have the willpower or discipline to actually do one of those plans consistently.
And that's what I was thinking. I was thinking they can't trust themselves to not take the money and not shred it and keep it for altruistic purposes.
But I have to admit, I was thinking like Jack in the sense, it's okay, if you're shredding this money, how are you earning a living if this is what you're spending all your time on?
Exactly.
How are you going to pay the bills? How are you going to buy the food? You can't just keep eating at Kevo's every day.
Well, then we find out that Lori and John are not in because they kiss. I was like, what?
They seem very happy.
Yeah. And then we have Tommy's surprise party. Tommy, he goes, oh, I'm so surprised. And they all laugh at it. They say, Tommy, you have to make a wish. Well, can I give my wish away? And they're going back and forth on the wish. No, you can't. Is it true you can't give your wish away? It's your birthday. Shouldn't you be able to do whatever you want?
Nora got upset because it reminded her of him giving hugs away, and who else gives hugs away? And that's why she was like, it's yours, honey. You make it.
Oh, good point.
That's not true.
She says it's your wish, honey.
You think she's upset about Tommy giving hugs away?
No, I'm saying that when he says, I could just give it away, there's this lingering moment. And I think I think Nora's obviously going to know that Tommy has been doing that. It's been 3 years. But I think that it goes back to when she got the hug. And there was a split moment of, nope, you're not giving it away. That's your wish.
Yeah.
I mean, it even panned to her, and she said that. She was the one who made the comment.
Isn't it 100%
no
about?
wish.
Isn't it 100% about Lily?
What?
Isn't it 100% about Lily?
What is about? What are we talking about?
This whole exchange about the wish and giving the wish away.
Well, if he can give it, wouldn't she? If she could take the wish, why wouldn't she take the wish and wish for Lily to come back?
Yeah.
But she didn't. You said you can't give the wish away.
Right. I thought that whole. I personally think that whole exchange is about Lily and the underlying thing that we probably find out next episode.
I just thought it was stupid banner, but I kind of like what Caleb's saying.
The only one who gets wishes is Jack when Holy Wayne's about to croak in the bathroom. I mean, not Jack, Kevin.
Yeah, I knew what you meant. Because,
I mean, kind of interchangeable. Kevin and Jack.
I see the confusion. I get it all the time.
I think there's too much mental information which is what we do with these shows to put together to make that connection. I thought it was very intimately detailed in the Lily.
It could be anything
at this point. Yeah,
it could be up to your interpretation. I mean, like I said, I was just like going, just make the damn wish. I had my grandkids were bugging me at this point because I was like trying to watch the show, and they go, and my granddaughter wanted. She goes, "You need to share." Because I was writing the notes. I go, no. I can't share this. You have to share. She kept, because that's her big. I always.
She was trying to take your notes for the show.
No, she was just trying to take the notepad because she likes to draw pictures. I go, no, I need this.
This is mine.
I'm always telling her. She'll always say mine. I go, no, we have to share. So she was giving it back to me.
And then did you say stay for a couple more minutes and watch Grandpa watch a man try to suffocate himself with a plastic bag?
Oh, I paused that scene for her.
Okay.
No, I told her to go out and play. Let's see.
I would just like Ethan to clarify something for me.
Okay. All right.
Yeah, when you talk about Lily, are you? I guess I'm confused about the dialogue because it's he's saying, I won't make the wish. Does anybody else have a wish? So I guess are you saying that the wish is Lily, or are you because they're trying to pass it off and we know what has happened with Lily, or are you saying that his wish is for Lily to come back or whatever?
I think he's just trying to acknowledge that Nora has this sadness right now when she's holding Noah, and it's about Lily.
And that's why he gives her the wish.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess I don't understand that because Tommy knows where this is, I guess, going to be spoiler. He knows where Lily is already, and we know that Nora's not getting her. So why would he want her to wish for that, knowing that that's not ever going to happen?
No, just giving a wish away.
Right.
Oh, as in we know what you've lost.
We know what you've lost.
I see what you're saying.
Lily
kind gesture.
Gotcha.
Yeah, just being a kind gesture. That's what I thought it was.
Her wish was to go raise pigeons.
Well, it just seemed weird because it didn't seem like Tommy was singling her out. It just seemed like he was asking anybody, and then once he made that "I'll give it away" comment, that was when she was like, didn't want any part of that. No, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it was.
But that's just my interpretation.
Yeah, I think it's Lily based.
I
think it works for both, honestly.
Well, he makes the wish, and who knocks on the door? Jill.
Smells like Teen Spirit.
Is this where all the people are at?
And he says that was my wish. Now, would that really be his wish? I would think that would be his wish, wouldn't it? That his sister would show up.
Ethan.
I don't know. I'm obviously wrong. So.
No, I'm saying
no.
I'm saying Tommy. Wouldn't that be? He said that was my wish.
Oh well, maybe maybe it was.
Wouldn't that be his wish that his sister?
Yeah, but he knew she was coming, so he probably didn't need it for that.
Yeah.
Do you think his wish was for Nora? Because he knows what she's been through.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've had 59 birthdays and not one's come true. Just saying.
Yeah.
Well, you never wish for something as simple as your family bag.
No.
And that's not real simple. I don't know what.
I mean, Jack keeps wishing for Jay to leave the zip code, but that never happens.
This doesn't happen. I technically he is in a different zip code.
Okay.
Then they went on the porch and all the men are talking about what they were doing on their 25th birthday.
I love the fact that it's like, okay, first it's unclear what they're talking about, but we're so conditioned to think about them talking about what did you do on the day of the departure, right? And here instead they're just taking, I guess it's Tommy just turned 25, right?
Right.
So that's what the parallel is, right?
I can't remember what I did on my 25th birthday.
Me either.
In fact, when I was watching the scene, I went, the hell was I doing on my 25th birthday? I don't know. Can't
But I
remember.
know exactly what I was doing, but I don't know where and who with. There's like a couple people could have been with, a couple pals it could have been with, and I was definitely there doing it. So,
but I like how we see like funny Matt here, right?
Well, for a while.
yeah, and then they all start to get weird.
Yeah.
And Kevin acts like he doesn't notice, but he notices, and I think he notices.
Well, Kevin says it was divine because he tells how he met Lori.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
It was divine intervention, and Max goes, "What?"
What?
Because even Michael looks at him like, "You're not allowed to say that." Kevin's like, karma.
Or Michael's looking at him like, does he know
about the book.
And my favorite part is when it said, after all that, we both thought we got lucky with the green light, but it was just the problem with the clicker. And that will come into play much later, I think.
Yep.
That's a very interesting statement he says.
Yeah, I picked up on that too.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny that when Jill comes to the house, she's like, "Is this the house where all the effed up people live?" And as the audience, you're like, "Yep, you came to the right one."
We're saying
probably
now,
couldn't have missed one if you stopped at any of these houses.
But at this point, we're thinking, well, Jill, no, they've changed. They're all happy.
Oh yeah,
because we don't know they're messed up. We don't know yet, right? Because they're still painting this picture that there's life is peaches and cream.
So once again, Jill's the more mature character.
Yeah.
She knows.
But she didn't bring Amy.
Well, we don't know.
Maybe she did.
But she drank some poison and pushed Amy down a well. Let's see here. So Jill says, "This is the last time we're going to see each other."
Yeah, I like that line.
Yeah, and Kev's like, "What? What?" And she goes, "No, I'm just joking."
She's talking to the audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Because that was her last scene. That's the last time we see her, right?
Yeah.
We hear her again, but we don't see her again.
Which is, I think, where the 10 episode would have come in handy. We probably would have got to see Erica more, maybe a little more development of Evie, as well as obviously Jill and Tommy. But I thought it was a weird comment that she said that if I stay with you guys, it'll just hurt Mom's feelings. And if I stay with her, she'll just keep me up all night apologizing.
Yeah.
Right.
So we learned a lot within there. So 3 years later, Lori is still saying she's sorry, which is good for her. But that doesn't mean Jill has to have anything to do with her.
But at a certain point, shouldn't you stop saying sorry and just be her mom again? And because saying you're sorry doesn't mean crap, right?
I think
how
that
many
comes
people
way later.
say I'm sorry, but then they really don't mean it.
I mean, the thing is, we don't know how many conversations Jill has had with Lori since, over the 3-year period, right?
Right.
So that, we don't know how much they've actually patched that up.
Well, it seems like they're talking.
Mm-hmm.
At least they can be in the same room together.
Mm-hmm.
But it's because Kevin didn't seem to have a problem. Go staying with John and Lori, your mom.
But the way it was phrased specifically with, if I stay with you guys, it'll just hurt Mom's feelings. Since when does Jill care about Lori's feelings?
When does Lori have feelings, right?
Yeah, even better question.
Well, I think that shows that they've come to some kind of agreement, not agreement, but they've got some kind of relationship going again.
And I sorry to keep interrupting you. I think
it's good.
I think Jill has grown, and obviously she was the most mature character in season 2, and we think that she's grown during this time as well. And like you said about Lori just keeping apologizing, that may not be a lot of growth on her end. I may have been giving her too much credit there. It may not be any actions. It may just be vocal, and that's all she can do. And so,
but I just don't see 3 years of saying I'm sorry. It just, okay, I got it. You're sorry, okay?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't work.
Obviously, you're not going to move on, and you can't get those years back. But there's things you could do where you could be, okay, I'm going to be your mom for the rest of my life. I'm going to be there. You need me, I will be there.
Right. It's like she's not really there for her. She just keeps apologizing. According to Jill's one line that I'm interpreting.
Because Lori never, I don't think Lori ever knew how to be a parent to Jill, only to Tommy.
Yeah, that too.
From what we've seen, I mean, people are going, "Oh, you're bashing her for what?" But I'm just, for everything we've seen, she was never a really good mom to Jill.
Ethan, how did those 2 lines from Jill extrapolate to the rest of the season for Lori?
Which 2 lines?
About the one about her apologizing all night.
Where Jill says, if I stay with you guys, it will just hurt mom's feelings. But if I stay with her, she'll just keep me up all night apologizing.
Like, does that come into play in the other episodes? Or is it just a reflection of Jill's relationship with her mother?
I think it's just a reflection of where they are now. And I think that they're on some kind of road, and the road takes years and years and years to heal. And it's a constant process.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's just a quick snapshot of Jill maybe doesn't feel, maybe she doesn't want to hang out there anymore. There's too much weirdness. There's too much crazy. She's got college down the street. They're having fun. She went to go see her brother at the family birthday party. And no, she doesn't want to stay here any longer. She has to. Dad's crazy. Maybe she misses Lily herself. You know what I mean?
It could
maybe
be she was. But,
that's a good point.
That's a great point.
I think she probably
3 points.
I think she loves her mom, but I think that that's going to be the conversation with her mom for quite a long while.
Now, because this is the first time because when she says she asks about Nora, how's she doing about Lily?
Yeah.
Now this is the first time hint that we get. Okay, there's something
off
there.
We already get show but don't tell, in the sense that when they pan around the room, you don't see Lily.
Right. But it's not unusual. Well, I guess Lily would be about what, 4 now?
Well, Lily would be older than Noah, and Noah was there.
Yeah. True.
So
but I gotta be honest. I wasn't even thinking that when they're panning around. I wouldn't even think of it. I wouldn't even think that Noah was there. I'm just kind of going.
You're having so much fun at the party. I mean, it was a great party.
It was a fun party. I mean,
I wasn't expecting the writers to be just like this cruel to Nora, but
But that was the first. I went, oh, Lily, yeah. Where is she?
And that's a great point about how Jill brings her up specifically,
right?
Because a lot of what we saw in season 2 was Jill, taking care of Lily.
Yeah,
she loved Lily
until, of course, Nora rolled out.
Yeah.
And
then we go upstairs, and Nora asks, "What were you guys talking about on the porch?" And Kevin, they said, "Oh, we were talking about this and that. You know what? We happened on our 25th birthday. How I met Lori, and blah 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 blah." And then we see, then they have some.
She makes a comment. She says, "I thought you guys were talking about your Luke Vanks."
Now, here's the thing: you guys don't like it when I bring this kind of stuff up because
don't bring it up.
Sopranos.
Because you're
I'm kidding.
Because you're repressed. But every time there starts to be some kind of deep conversation with Miss Nora and Mr. Kevin, there's a sexual interaction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it kind of.
Why don't we want that brought up?
I don't know, but you do. You're pressed dudes. Yeah. Yeah. So there is definitely Looking
I
back.
have no problem with Nora reaching in Kevin's pants.
Right.
Yeah,
And
none.
neither of them did either, as long as it wasn't, as long as no one was about to bring up Lily.
Right.
Right. If someone is going to bring up Lily, the hand's going down the pants.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Maybe Kevin does that on purpose.
No.
No. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say that was Jack Gladfelter, and we're going to take away 10 points from him for that.
I don't think Kevin has had the balls to talk with Nora about it.
So that's what Nora was checking.
Well, yeah, I was just saying, like, I mean, Jill was even like, Kevin, have you talked to Nora about it? So I think this was his first time trying to even bring it up. So I don't think he was like.
Because we also don't know how much time has transpired since.
Right.
Do we know later on, Ethan?
Not that I remember.
Well, obviously less than 3 years.
Well, at this point, do we know? We know Jill brought it up, but do we know?
We don't know what happened to her.
No,
we don't know what happened at this point.
Because Kevin looks at Nora holding Noah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Anyway, but then after they have sex, Kevin's laying in bed. He's not sleeping, and I'm like, oh no.
Oh no, they tease us with the close-up.
But then he wakes up and he's like, oh, is he somewhere else?
Right.
That was my first sex. It's somewhere else, and Nora goes, oh, you just sleep in or whatever. He's like, okay, I'm here, because he probably still has that concern. I mean, how could you not?
Of course.
Where you for so long, where you were waking up and you were somewhere else, he would have that concern. And then Kevin and Nora say, I love you, I love you, I love you. And then Kevin's walking around. Nora rides off on a bike, which is done on purpose. Right? Foreshadowing. Now, Kevin seems to have like a scratch or something. There's something on his back.
That's red.
It's red, yeah.
It's like right in the middle, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
I'm
like going, okay. Was that
where
just
the bullet went through?
Oh, Take away points. Yeah.
All right.
Do it. I don't deserve it.
All right. Caleb,
I'm not worthy.
For not helping me, Caleb, you lose 30 points.
Jesus Christ.
I'll lose 20 points. And Caleb, we're going to give you, Ethan, we're going to give you 50 points.
That's a very good point.
Wow. Ethan, I'm so proud.
By the way, kudos to whoever the makeup staff were and stuff like that to put in that detail.
Yeah, because I wasn't even thinking. I was like, what's on his back?
Jack, you know what I was thinking about in that scene? Because he's about to get dressed, right?
Yeah.
Think about Officer Mustard Stain. Because we see again, of course, all of his dry cleaning.
Hey, Laura, you're welcome.
And Rose said bullet.
Of course, Ro would know it.
Yeah, of course.
Well, did she know it before we said it? I wasn't watching the chat. Watching the chat.
Roll back the tape. I don't know.
Anyway,
it says she left the comment at 8:07, and my computer says 8:05. So I think she's time traveling. I don't know. That's how she knows so much. She's like hearing what we say and then commenting, before.
Well, obviously, Laura heard it from me before she read it from Ro.
Well, that's good, Eckhart. That's true about the whole production team.
Yeah.
Remembering that, he had a bullet go through him.
It's incredible, like that they included that detail.
And like I said, I forgot all about it. Mm-hmm. And I've seen the show. I've seen this episode before.
Yeah.
Now they did show Kevin going into his closet, and it was definitely a callback to International Assassin.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But then Kevin, there's a thing called cufflinks, and he has duct tape in there, and he takes the dry cleaning the garment bag off. And I'm like, all right, Kevin, what are you gonna do?
Well, it's all the Feeling Groovy by Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
I couldn't even hear the song because I'm like going, what are you doing? And I think I talked about this the first time I watched it. Was he method acting there, or was because it seemed like the bag was over his face, covering. I mean, I'm sure that scene took hours to film. There's no way he was probably in any danger, but it was freaking me out.
Yeah,
it's really well done.
Yeah,
all right,
very disturbing.
Here we go. Justin Theroux actually performed the plastic bag stunt, causing director Mimi Leder and crew to worry about whether he was acting or actually suffocating.
It looked real.
You gonna tell me that man didn't put that bag over his head? I don't buy. I think he did it.
Of course he
He
did.
did it.
They couldn't do like many takes just back to back to back. I wouldn't imagine. They'd have to like wait, a few.
Yeah.
And they don't
little
show you
bit.
anything. And it's over, and he just pops out of the house, all good to go.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's like Val Kilmer. You ever watch that thing on Amazon Prime?
I saw it. Yeah.
Val Kilmer.
Yeah.
He was a method actor, anyway, it's pretty. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. It's pretty interesting.
Yeah.
But I just was like going. I was freaking out the whole time. So now we find out Kevin really isn't as happy as Kevin wants us to believe. So now that the House of Cards did it have something to do with Lily, and it affected Nora. So Nora being not 100% happy has affected Kevin.
Just all of the above.
Well, I also think Kevin. There's a place Kevin goes to, and he likes to go back there.
Mm-hmm.
He likes it. He feels like
right. I was thinking about that too. I mean, we see that in the next scene. There's like this. He does gravitate towards death.
Yeah. And then he walks out of the house.
Rose said something. Rose said, "Always bug me. Dry cleaning bags have a hole in the hanger." He taped that thing around his neck.
Yeah, and he had it like tied up, and
then you did it many rotations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He knows how to deal with.
And plus, my dad used to own like a dry cleaner type store, and it had those kind of bags. They're pretty easy to tie up and stuff because if you put candles in them under them, they can float.
It would be amazing if during that scene when he's suffocating, they had the flashback just to like the smiling face of the guy from season 1 after he says "Officer Mustard Stain."
They couldn't get that guy back. He was.
They could have just used the frame from season 1.
That's true. They didn't want to pay him again. Let's see. So, but Tommy calls and says they've poisoned the water where they're doing the baptism at.
Mm-hmm.
And Kevin's like, let me go back up to that bag.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to deal with that. And so the kids are upset that 93 GRs were vaporized, and they all on their shirts, they have pictures of Evie. Evie's now a martyr, right?
Yeah. Horrible drawings of Evie.
Well, what are you going to do?
It definitely had a good, based this in. I mean, it's not the same thing, but it definitely gave the sense of like at that point in time, you had what was it called? The anti-Wall Street movement.
Yeah.
Occupy
Wall Street.
Yeah, they were definitely aiming for the same stylistic feel to it.
Yes.
And as well as the demographic that was represented there. College age, mostly female.
Right. But I like the fact that the people that were being baptized were wearing white.
Yes.
And when they couldn't get what they wanted, they started throwing rocks.
Yeah. It's a nice inversion.
I said, what does this remind me of?
And one of the ladies who was she was saying, the water isn't holy. It's a symbol of hypocrisy. The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Cult assassinated 93 unarmed members of the GR. They were targeted by a military drone. And she, says, Megan and Evangeline, remember them.
Say their names, right?
Yeah, say their names.
Yeah.
And it's very interesting because you're like, they have a point. And then you see the religious people throwing the stones and you're like, no. No, what is happening?
Well, I mean, the thing about the religious people...
They haven't been baptized yet.
Well, the religious people there are more like they're the angry tourists, right?
Right.
They've been waiting for this moment to go on this ride, and here there are a bunch of protesters that are blocking off the ride for them.
Mm-hmm. But also remind me of season 1 where they stoned, was it Gladys?
Yeah.
Gladys.
I was thinking, Jack, in terms of season 1, at the end of the first episode, where there's the confrontation between the townspeople and the GR at the park. Yeah. And it was interesting here in the sense that, like, here you have a situation where the society has already been so polarized at this point, in this small space, where you have, like, these religious fanatics, and then you have these, truthers, right?
Right.
And again, Kevin and his police force are stuck in the middle. And that's why, like, when he walks off and jumps into the water, it's like, obviously, part of the bigger theme there is what we saw with him trying to suffocate himself, right?
Well, you
and
have
all the
also,
stuff he's dealing with. But on some level, he's also like, I don't want to deal with this BS again.
well, you can see he zones out because Michael and Matt got between they got in front of the kids and said, stop. And that's where Kevin goes, I just can't do this anymore.
Yeah, I can't deal with this anymore.
And so then he goes and jumps in the water.
Mm-hmm. He's hoping it was poisoned.
He was, but he can't die in Jordan.
Yeah.
Well, here's let me fess up right now to something about this season.
Yes.
I 100% bought into Kevinism. I wanted it to happen.
Kevin,
I wanted it. Kevinism. I wanted to believe the book of Kevin. I wanted to believe Kevin was the Messiah. That's the story I wanted to see, like at the beginning of the story.
Oh, this is what you're saying. You wanted to see that.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to see.
That he's actually invincible.
He's actually invincible. He's the hero.
You just lost all your points.
That's okay.
I'd rather tell the truth than lose my point.
Yeah,
I'm just kidding.
Okay, right.
Son of a no. But I honestly was like, he obviously jumped in the water that was poisoned and turned it back to regular water.
Oh,
that's what I wanted. In my mind, that's what I wanted to happen.
Well, my question is, where did these kids get these big barrels of poison?
They didn't. It was fake.
I know, but that would have been my question. Okay, there were like 7 or 8 drums of floating around in the water that we could see. Where would these kids get that amount of poison? That's a lot of poison.
The GR's got connections.
But they weren't GR though. They were just kids, right?
They were truthers.
Right.
Yeah. They were truthers.
So that would have been my first. So was Kevin really like I said, Kevin doesn't care if he dies.
I didn't go back and listen to the crackpot theories for this episode, but I wouldn't have been surprised if your crackpot theory was that those protesters were actually like hired by Matt to get Kevin into the water so that they could baptize him in front of everybody.
I'll buy it. I believe it 100%.
That sounds familiar.
Yeah, that might be. Hey, you know what? I did go back and listen to the last half of the Jay and Jack and Mike podcast just to hear what I said.
Yeah.
See if it matched up what I was going to say here.
So it's like you basically went back to listen to the podcast the way that Senior reads through the book to make sure that he's mentioned.
Yes, totally. And guess what? I am. So.
Well, that's good.
Yeah. You were not kind to me, Jack. That's okay though.
I never have been.
All right, it's consistent. All right, so after Kevin tells everyone,
you're not going to get 3 years of apologies from me.
right. I just can't stay at Jack's house. He's going to keep apologizing,
crying.
Nope, not going to happen.
All right, so
Michael baptizes Kevin.
Yeah.
Which is really weird, and I have a really big problem with that scene.
Why?
Because I mean, not like from an artistic standpoint or anything, or like story wise. I just think it's really disturbing. I feel like Kevin's really just put on the spot and forced to have to do it, and I don't think that's right. I think Michael was completely in the wrong by doing what he did. And it was almost like he was ambushed, and so I did not like that. I did not, as somebody who has dealt with types of religious persecution, I did not like that he was forced in that position. And it was weird that Michael did it. You know, it would make more sense. Something that rude would come from Matt.
Mm-hmm.
But as we find out later, Michael, you know, there's a certain cadre of folks that are kind of so bought into what's going on with Kevin, including me. But they're taking advantage of Kevin. Kevin is being the anti-John from season 2. He's saying yes to everything, and they're taking advantage of that. Mm-hmm. Like he doesn't want to say no in front of all the people that have come for the religious experience. He doesn't want to say no to being baptized in front of them. He wants to give them a good experience in Miracle and Jordan.
But like Caleb said, he was forced into it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah, but from Michael's perspective, for someone who is, and I agree with that, but I think the way to unpack the scene is that they're basically writing the newer Testament, right? but they're still making reference to the Bible, right, left and right, and using that as pre-configuration, as support. So from Michael's perspective, he sees Kevin in the water, and he's thinking about when Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, right? Isn't that the scene? And so, like, all these, like, I mean, Michael has a little bit of Matt too, in the sense that he wants to be part of this big thing, right?
Right.
So that he, like,
well, he's a true believer.
He's a pure believer, and he's like, oh my God, this is just like when John the Baptist baptized Jesus in the river, whatever it was, Jordan, I think. And so that's why he's just acting on pure
He's like, I'm getting to do it. I'm getting to do it.
Exactly. He's acting on pure instinct, and he's not even thinking about the fact that he's like doing what you just said, Caleb, but the best part is Kevin is so dumbfounded, right? Because he's still processing all the stuff. But then when he gets his like sense back, he goes, doesn't count. But I think that what that scene encapsulates so perfectly is just the ambivalence that Kevin has, right?
Well, does it only count if you believe it? I mean, if it's not something you truly believe in, can it really count?
But that's the thing. He's struggling with this, right?
Kevin is struggling with it. Babies aren't, and they're forced to do it every day.
Yeah.
So,
will you repeat that? I'm sorry.
Kevin is struggling with it, but babies are forced to get baptized every day.
Oh,
and they don't have a choice. So, I mean,
they're babies.
But yeah, I mean, that's my main takeaway from this.
Certainly, yeah.
Is that he really is like struggling with his experience and putting it into this bigger religious context, right?
Everything that's happened to him,
yeah. And it's incredibly personal to him. I mean, for all those other people, the departure meant something, but now he has to deal with both the departure and the fact that he can't die, right?
Right.
And he does have to deal with it. It is a thing for him.
Yeah.
Because we almost see it coming up again. Him and Tommy are talking. Tommy, now we're getting seeing season 2, Tommy, where he's upset. He goes, "Those kids were right." You know, he goes, "No," and then Kevin tells the fake story. No, it was gas leak. Boom. GR were smoking. Boom, boom. Left a crater. That's what we tell him. That's what happened.
Yeah.
So Kevin is towing the company line, whereas, you know, it's probably how he got put back in his position so fast.
Well, it's probably also like him finding some sort of middle ground between where he was at the beginning, you know, in the middle of season 1, where he's dealing with that agent, and what that agent is advocating, right?
Right.
He's kind of figured out some sort of middle road in this new, you know, they're basically implying that it's, you know, it's basic part of the government is pretty fascist in the sense that they just kind of nuke the GR out of existence, right?
They enjoy doing it.
Yeah, and he doesn't bother fighting it, right?
No.
He's kind of like, I've tried my best, and you know,
well, that's where you see like a little, you know, where Tommy's not 100% happy because he doesn't believe.
Right. I mean, Tommy still has an idealistic streak.
Right.
And Kevin's, a lot of the idealism's already been like shorn off because of his own life experience, right?
Right. And then all of a sudden they're being shot at, right? And Dean is shooting at him. Now, is this Kevin just because he can't be killed? He can't die in Jordan? Or is it the fact that, because Dean's a good shot. We've seen he's a great shot. And he's got a rifle. Didn't this rifle have a scope on it too?
Yep.
All right. There's no way he misses Kevin.
I was thinking the same.
I mean, Tommy got out of the car real quick.
Right.
But there's no way he would miss Kevin unless he potentially was not going to try and kill him.
And the way that he's like fumbling with the rifle as he's walking towards him, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So if he wanted to kill Kevin, I think he.
What I liked here though, Jack, was that when you see Kevin like Kevin tries to fire back, but there are no bullets in his clip or something like that.
Right.
And Kevin's really scared.
Oh yeah.
Okay. And this is in contrast to like the acceptance of like him putting the bag around his face, or the no emotion when he jumps into the poisoned water.
Right.
I mean, here he's really afraid.
Because it's not on his terms.
Yeah,
it's on someone else's terms, and
or it just shows that like he's just not sure about all this stuff.
Right. Yeah, maybe, or he wants to go back to the hotel.
Right. There's a certain like randomness in his desire for death.
Or does he just miss Patty?
We all miss Patty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then as Dean is narrowing in, he's got the kill shot on Kevin. Boom! Dean just kind of explodes. And
The way the dog did in like the first episode or whatever.
Tommy killed him.
Yeah.
Good shot by Tommy. And then later on, they're smoking cigarettes, and he goes, "You need to talk to someone. You need to talk to a shrink." Well, I just did my job. He goes, "No, I killed someone." Really, you killed someone? Yeah, it was a woman, and I killed her. And I killed her armed security, her well-armed security also. And so, because he did a flashback when he killed Patty, so he's talking about Patty he killed and her security, Holy Wayne, and
to him it was very real. Whatever happened.
Yes, exactly.
I also think it's interesting at the beginning when Kevin goes to see John and Lori, he talks to Lori and he mentions that like maybe he should go back to therapy because the con that they were running on the people, and Lori was saying how it helps them or whatever, and he was like, well, maybe I should go back to therapy after hearing what Lori had said. And then here you have Kevin bring up therapy again and suggest it to Tommy. So it makes me think that perhaps after season 2, in between, this time jump here, perhaps he did go to therapy, maybe he stopped, maybe he got better, maybe he kept his secrets. But I thought that was really big of him for somebody who like took a whole season to kind of break down to get to the point of asking help or seeking out someone, for him to tell his son, essentially, this will help, was great.
And then I thought the funniest scene in the episode, the dog takes the sandwich.
There you go, Lindelof humor.
I mean, that was funny.
It was hilarious.
As Dean's laying there, but it was I thought it was funny. Then we go and Kevin walks in and Mary and Nora talking. Mary is going to leave Matt, and Kevin's like, "Wait, this guy loves you. He took care of you for 3 years," and he's trying to guilt Mary into. I mean, I think Kevin's wrong here. I mean, what he's saying is not wrong, but it's not his place to say that. And she says, he won't let me leave. He won't let me leave here. And he thinks I'm going to go back into a coma. All right, you're Matt. You've been taking care of your wife you took care of her 3 years. You lost her. Or maybe it was 4 years, whatever it was. She comes back because she's in Jarden or Miracle. Would you be afraid if she left?
Absolutely.
The city limits. I mean, you could lose her again forever.
Sure.
I mean,
I'd be afraid, but you can't keep someone somewhere.
I get it, but I'm just saying you could see why he would why he's acting the way he is. But you could also see why she is like, okay, look, I can't just stay here. Look, I've seen that hole in the ground. I don't know how many times. It's just not that exciting. So
plus, I mean, she's thinking in terms of like raising her son, right?
Right.
In an environment that might be more healthy for children.
Right.
Than being used as props in Sunday service or 2 p.m. service every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that, and this is just my opinion, but I think that when Kevin tells Mary, well, Matt took care of you all those years, it's kind of like, but Matt was the husband. He was supposed to do that. He doesn't get extra points for doing that. What he's doing now is keeping her back in that chair, essentially, not able to go anywhere, which is what she's had enough of.
Right.
And obviously it's completely appropriate for him to think, I'm scared if she leaves.
And it's her choice to leave.
Right. Exactly.
It's her choice.
So.
Because obviously, I mean, if I'm married, I would probably be thinking the same thing.
Well, when you see Matt and he's, writing this book and what she goes on to say about it, she seemed, in my opinion, to be like Matt's went, far right or whatever, and I'm like not about that.
Yeah. No, I think that scene did that really well in the sense that, like, she first mentions that she can't leave the town, but then she basically, the way that she says, like, the book's about you, Kevin. Like, it's like, I don't want to be with a crazy person.
But she didn't see Matt. Matt was that way the whole time she was in a coma.
Well, here's the thing. What
Right?
she saw of Matt was what we saw him at the party, right? And the day of the departure, right? And they were in pretty good, and they're probably in a pretty good mood, since she woke up too, right?
Right.
But like, it was probably humorous for the first 6 months for her, but then with the baby being born and stuff like that. But yeah, she's probably significantly different than what she saw in him in Maplewood, right?
Right. And Kevin,
Also-
go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I also believe, I think back in season 1, we did discuss how Matt, he had help with, or somebody was helping Mary.
Mm-hmm.
And that I think we discussed a little bit about how his main focus may have been the church at the time because, so caretaker level,
Yeah.
Not that he was a bad one, but just saying.
No, yeah. So I see Matt's point, but it's not his right to keep her prisoner, like I think you said, Caleb. She's basically still prisoner in the chair. If she can't leave, she's still in a coma, technically. Let's see, but Kevin is not happy about the book. He goes to see Matt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He goes, Michael, you need to get out of here. He goes, well, and then Michael says, he knows. And Kevin wants the book. Matt's like, well.
There's only one copy. I kind of.
Yeah, worked really hard on it.
Who says there's only one copy?
Matt,
right?
Matt.
And he's lying, right?
We know it's on the computer.
Well,
no, we
not
don't.
just that.
Well, what did he put it was the book.
He was watching porn right there in the church or wherever he was.
He wasn't watching porn. He was writing the book, man. I know.
Or we think he's writing the book. Yeah, we don't really.
It's a Jesus porn. It's pretty good.
When Michael is first seen in the episode, he is reading an article on the Mapleton Gazette website entitled "Mapleton Rebuilds After Heroes Day Violence," with photos seemingly depicting events from the riot in the pilot.
Wait, how did they figure that out? Someone took a screenshot?
Probably.
We never saw it.
Yeah.
That's fan fiction. Someone made that up.
But the more important point is that
I'm a fan.
We figure out that
you made it up.
there's another copy in a later episode, right?
There is a copy. Yeah, I guess it is a copy. It has to be.
It can't be the original,
right?
Because the original is about to get barbecued.
Right.
But John shows up and Kevin says, Matt and your son are writing a gospel about me. Yeah. And John's the new John, like, yeah, all right.
No, but John goes, huh? And Justin Thoreau gives the perfect line reading of, huh?
Yeah.
Back home, it's so funny. It's so funny right there.
Yeah.
And then they start to tell Kevin, okay, but you can't die. Mm-hmm. You drank poison. And John goes, I shot you in the chest. It's like boom, 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 boom. And he goes, you didn't go to the hospital till the next day.
Yeah.
It just, and there was and you tried to drown yourself and all that different stuff. And the river, you dried up, all this different stuff. And so Kevin's like, I want the book. And then he kind of attacks
Matt.
Mm-hmm. And Matt goes, all right, get the book. Here's the book. Yeah. But John thinks Evie's still alive.
Yeah.
It's a heartbreaking performance by Kevin Carroll.
Yeah.
He's obviously wearing her glasses now. He's wearing those round spectacles.
Yeah.
And when
spectacle himself.
Just like my Uncle Bob, by the way. But it really is when you see John's pain and he thinks that his daughter, he has such hope that she did it before, that she probably did it again. It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Well, because did they ever get her DNA? I mean,
they said her dental records.
Yeah, and he goes, yeah, they could have been fake or something.
Yeah.
He's in complete denial.
Yeah, what am I supposed to do? Believe it just because they said her dental records? Yeah, and Kevin says yes.
So, I mean, Kevin mentions to Matt that Mary's leaving, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see just like how Matt shrugs it off.
Yeah.
He talks about like, okay, he might even do some sort of a biblical scripture reference there in terms of having to finish this work alone or something like that.
I have a lot to say about that. So yeah,
because Matt's focus, like Caleb, you said earlier, he was taking care of Mary, but had a caretaker so he could do his church. Or he could put out those flyers. There's always something else with Matt that's more important.
He always gravitates to something that seems to be, like what you said. He always seems to gravitate to something that seems to be higher up on the biblical rung, and it's actually amazing the fact that like he considers what's going on with Kevin more important than the fact that his wife woke up from a coma in this place, right?
Right.
That he's willing to lose all of that just to basically publish the New Testament. Right?
Well, I think that also you've had Michael obviously told Matt everything that happened that night with Kevin, how he drank the poison, was buried for 8 hours, and came back to life.
Right, and most importantly, he told him everything about the hotel.
Exactly. Yeah.
So,
I think maybe Matt wants to know. Okay, wants to know what is the next level. What is it true?
But it's kind of like, okay, it's like the only way to describe this is that like Matt is like the character who always thinks he's destined for something more important, right?
Like a bald-headed guy we all know.
Yeah, and in the religious context for him is it's like he's realizing that he might not be destined to be the guy, but he's destined to be one of the 4 people that write the gospel.
Right.
And that's what he's focused on. And Michael is just like, 1 or 2 steps behind at this point in time.
And what kills me though is the reason that Mary gives for leaving is she can't leave Miracle, but yet he said, okay.
Yeah. It shows you, it's a great juxtaposition to show how far gone he is, right?
Right.
Yeah, I think it's when Kevin, I think he even cuts him off. Kevin saying it's bullshit. Your wife's taking your son and leaving you, and then Matt says he's quoting scripture when he says, "If you come to me but will not leave your family, you cannot be my follower." And many of y'all know this about in my personal life, but that's actually something that my husband's family used against him to disown him because he's gay. So as much as I harp on Matt and hate him as a character for obvious reasons, he's very, very well written and it's very real. And this may be in a crazy departure world where everybody's picking and choosing their beliefs, but things like that are literally said to people and people are disowned. And it's not like Jill and your mom where you say you're sorry for 3 years. It's done. And so that line really hit hard. And it's like, he's like, okay, I'm going to leave my family for God. Right. And it's like, I'm sorry, that's despicable. Your family's right here. And it's the same as going back to the beginning where they're so focused on the afterlife in that very first scene that she's losing her family for.
Yeah. No, the parallels. That was the strongest parallel in this episode of the Millerite, and the way that he just kind of, probably in his mind, the way the character's written is Mary leaving him is justification for that he's on the right track. In terms of with the New Testament,
right?
Hey guys, I just want to circle back for a second. I did take a screen grab of that article, and it is what it said it is on the internet.
You're kidding?
No, I'm not kidding. I've put it in our shared chat on the tweeters.
Mapleton Gazette.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Get your points back. All right, But Matt does give Kevin the book.
Yeah.
And then Kevin walks out, and there's people hanging around, and he's about ready to throw the book in the barbecue. Or the pit, whatever it is.
Also, Kevin kind of calls John out by saying, you're going through this because your daughter died. When John was saying that he had problems earlier. So I thought that was kind of like, whoa, Kevin just kind of told him exactly what he was going through when Kevin's had a hard time knowing what he's going through.
To be fair, John did shoot him.
Point blank.
Oh yeah, no, I don't think it was rude.
Kevin forgave him, so it's kind of
Yeah.
I think I said last time we recorded. I don't think I could do that.
Right.
Mhm. Well,
I might give you the silent.
Yeah. Well, this belief nonsense has caused John to think that Evie's could still be alive. I mean, it's these thoughts going down this road is very, very dangerous. And I hate to bring my personal life into it, but I just feel like it's important to know that this does happen. But yeah,
John's lost his wife, right? And Evie, he thought he was really close with, and she's, she faked her death. He was, didn't know what had happened to her. He shot Kevin because of it. He was not a happy person, even though he's with Lori. He doesn't seem. Does he seem happy?
Well, no, but this is another example of they make us think like they're really happy until this moment he has this confrontation with Kevin. You see, whoa, not only are you not happy, but you're completely around the bend.
But it's very realistic too in terms of like different layers of people, right?
Right.
And the fact that it can suppress a lot of this stuff, but then in moments like this, it comes out, right?
Right. I mean, it just you can only do so much. And then Kevin looks up and sees a Skyrider plane going 13 days to go. You don't see that anymore, do you? I haven't seen that. Well, I guess they haven't. They haven't San Diego at the beaches, yeah.
And that's the end of the episode. What a great episode.
Well, no, we see there's doves flying, right? Or is it pigeons? Pigeons or doves, whatever they are.
Noah's dove.
Noah's dove.
Yeah.
And then we see a person on a bike. Now, I do this all the time. Think back when this episode first happened. Did we know that was Nora on the bike?
I assumed it was.
When they showed us her face and she said no.
Well, no, I'm just saying when she first was riding the bike.
No, I watched it like everything I do with The Leftovers. I was just like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Well, then this woman on the bike takes all these pigeons to the nun, and the nun says, okay, it's a little more, a little tip there for you. And she says, well, we find out her name is Sarah. And she goes, but then we find out it's an older Nora. We're like going, what the hell is going on with this show? And then the nun asks, does the name Kevin mean anything to you? No.
And like this massive swell of massive like Leftovers orchestration we've never heard before.
Yeah, I was about to say.
But it's only the Leftovers, right? And you're just like, what the fuck happened? What the
That was scene.
Yeah. And you're like, wow, they started us off on an amazing ride here. Amazing ride.
Because then you're like going, wait, what? Because I think, Caleb, you mentioned they could have left this part out. But I think I kind of, as a fan of those kind of things, I kind of liked it because it did kind of overtake the whole episode because your thoughts went to, okay, all right, what the hell's going on the last 2 minutes, and we forget about the first 58 minutes. Because there's the same people that are all unhappy, blah 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 blah, how they're going through it, but what is going on with Nora? Why is she so old? Where is she at? What is going on? And I think that became the focal point instead of the first. I think they did it on purpose.
Misdirection. Misdirection, like they did in the second season with the GR.
Yeah, just
total. It was. There's something so Lindelof about that makes it his show completely, doing that one little thing.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? And just keeps us guessing through the entire season about what's going to happen. It's great.
Yeah, I mean it's a great technique to keep the viewer on their toes, like
and not even just viewers, like us, like our kind of viewer.
We've already watched it.
Yeah. But I'm saying back when it was going.
Yeah, I know.
In real time.
I'm trying to remember, but I'm pretty sure that most of the phone calls and most of the feedback was about what happened with why Nora was so old and what was going on.
Right.
And
That's not what my feedback was about, Jack.
Yeah, but we didn't care about your feedback.
Well,
So,
I think that's why I have just the slightest problem with it is that it does pull the focus, which is great, but it, like what you just said, it kind of can take away too, because you're left thinking, what about Nora? What about Nora? And everything else you just saw is also important. And, if the camera had panned up to the 13 days to go and then it ended, that'd be really ominous. Like, oh, what are we in for this season? And I think it may be like the concept with a lot of shows that have a flash forward scene where you're like, okay, I know Jack's, I know he's going to survive this appendectomy because he gets off the island. Like we already know, so that Nora's this, there's a lot of mystery surrounding it, which is why it works. But I think in terms of like characters, you know her fate, kind of.
Yeah.
You just don't know how it got that way. And I love
and why is she no longer, I don't know, a Kevin.
Right.
And it's what the thing that's clever about this too is because so it knocks like the attentive viewer off balance again, because just like once, like we had all these scenes where now we're debating faith and is Kevin invincible and stuff like that. We've kind of gotten like our sense of like what the limits of the show are. But now, like he pulls out like this extra card out of the deck, and he's like, "All right, I'm going to knock you off balance."
And he did.
How are you guys going to explain in your minds that Nora, is she older, or did she have like some sort of a weird skin condition?
Or is she an alternate universe Nora, which those were the kind of the most annoying things I heard.
But the point is that the impact of that scene is it allows you to expand the possibilities of where the show is going.
I think I'm going to have to change my mind and agree with y'all, because thinking about it more, it's more of a through the looking glass flash forward and less of an episode in season 4 of Lost, kind of.
Yeah,
it's the big moment that you don't know any of it, instead of
and also they knew this was their final season, so they were just like, we're just gonna go
and
out. We're just gonna go crazy with it.
And on the Kevinism tip, I was really happy about the fact that in the future maybe it could be like that term, does the Kevin mean anything to you, is such a religious term. Do you know what I mean?
Wow.
Like it's such a religious thing that people are saying, instead of have you heard the news, or or that kind of thing, they're saying, does the word name Kevin mean anything to you?
Like that she's proselytizing
about the Church of Kevin.
Yeah.
All sorts of stuff like that.
I just now got it.
You can have 5 points.
I was really into that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. All right. Are we at the free-form discussion portion?
Well, we're almost at 2 hours, so yes.
Yeah. All right. I have to share something from season 2, which I'm wondering if can't remember if we discussed or not, but I wanted to make sure it's in the record.
All your points for the rest of the season are riding on this.
Okay. So, in that scene where John shoots Kevin, right?
Right.
And, that's obviously a focal point. And, we know that he is so against all this talk about Jordan being special, right? And being a place of miracles, right? And I think one thing we might have missed is the fact that he probably associates all the talk of Jordan being special, Jordan miracles, with people burying birds and being resurrected, and probably the one guy who talked about that a lot was Erica's father. So he probably doesn't dissociate the talk about Jordan being special and miracle from his experience with Erica's father in terms of the abuse.
That's a good point.
And the other thing that came to mind was, and that's why like the whole talk about like what happened to you and like nothing special here, that those things kind of overlap. The other thing that was interesting is that Kevin can't die and John can't kill anybody because he shot Erica's father also 3 times and he didn't die.
Right.
Very interesting.
Mind blown.
Kevin wouldn't die even though he shot him straight in the gut shot, right?
It looked like a gut shot, but no, I guess it was the chest.
I think he even mentions it, like, how'd you survive the gut shot?
And he didn't kill Isaac.
Right.
No.
I mean, I guess he tried to, but
He's
that
just
was
not good.
that
He's
was
just not good at
diverted.
it.
But
John's not good at things.
Yeah, but I do think there probably is some sort of loose connection between his aversion towards the whole talk about Miracle being special that predates even the original Day of the Departure, with that whole traumatic childhood experience.
That's a great point. Now you think he wants to believe Miracle's special so that Evie is still alive?
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I think there might have been a flip there.
And I think that's why Erica left, which I think we found that out later, that I think she said something along the lines of like, he couldn't get over it. And,
Right.
you know, my daughter's dead. I've accepted it or something like
Right.
that.
Yeah, this season is pretty fast and furious with the answers to these questions from this episode.
Yeah.
So we don't have too long to wait for a lot of it.
Mm.
We even talked about some of it earlier.
Anything else? Well, thanks for everyone in the chat. You have another question?
No, I was just saying in general. I mean, I thought this was like such a fun episode.
Yeah, I think The Leftover Season 3 is a great ride. If we never got it, I would have been beside myself for the rest of my life, wishing for another season of The Leftovers.
Yeah.
I'd have been okay.
I'm so happy we got it, but I don't. I got some issues with it.
Mm. Sure.
And we will talk about that in the coming weeks.
Is it Matt's episode?
No, it's not. a little bit is. Just the craziness of it, and where they, try to take it from the year before. Sometimes it goes a bit. But then that's The Leftovers. That's the show we love. That's the show we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
We are chatting next week on Labor Day, right?
We will be working on Labor Day. Yes.
There you go.
We are working on Labor Day.
Yeah, it was a great discussion. I enjoyed it. And we will be back next Monday for the second episode, which the title is
Don't Be Ridiculous.
Don't Be Ridiculous. A man in my position cannot look ridiculous. What movie?
Yeah, but they're making a reference.
Technically, it's a man in my position cannot afford to be made to look ridiculous. It's Jack Waltz and it's The Godfather.
My Irish McFriend.
My Kraut McFriend.
Kraut McFriend. I'm Irish.
I'm German Irish. Let me tell you something, my Kraut McFriend. Godfather alive. Just
watch out for that horse. How'd they get the horse head in the bed without him waking up? I just don't believe it. He looked ridiculous. That's all I'm saying.
He's not all dollars and cents.
Yeah. If you haven't seen The Godfather, I apologize for spoiling that part.
Yeah, Jack.
I haven't seen it?
No, I haven't actually.
What? Aren't you a film
I have
buff?
not. I know, it's really weird, the films that you would think that I would have seen that I haven't. It's really weird. I've seen a lot of like older,
you gotta watch
like French cinema.
You gotta watch The Godfather.
Mm-hmm. It's on my list.
The extended version of that explains more who the girl was. If you've seen the The Godfather's long, was it close to 3 hours? When you watch the extended version, it's like almost 4 hours.
You're talking about the made-for-TV Godfather saga, where they had deleted scenes.
Yeah, they showed. I watched it. I thought it was all in one thing.
Oh, okay.
It was a long sitting. Anyway, that's all we got. Got way off topic here. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back next Monday.
Yeah.
Same time, same bat channel. Bye, everybody.
Bye.